imagine for a second that you have a silent partner in your business.
Huh.
And I don't mean the helpful, like angel investor who, wires you capital and then just gets out of your way.
The one you actually want.
Right. I mean, a partner who does absolutely zero work. They don't show up. They don't sweat the inventory. They don't deal with angry customers.
But they're there on payday.
They are there for every single sale. Before the money even hits your account, they reach in and take a cut.
And this is the crucial part, because I think most people miss this. They aren't taking a cut of your profit. They're taking it from your total revenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Revenue. So even if you lose money on a sale, you discount something just to move it, they still get their full share. It honestly sounds like a protection racket.
It does, but it's just the standard model for credit card processing.
Yeah.
That's the reality for pretty much every business owner right now. We're talking about Visa, MasterCard, American Express.
And while we've all sort of accepted this as just the cost of doing business, our deep dive today really pushes back on that idea. We've got a really fascinating set of documents here from a company called Business Profit Strategies, or BPS. They're out of Twin Falls, Idaho, and they make a pretty compelling case that this silent partner is, well, bleeding businesses dry.
The main number they anchor on is that businesses are losing between 2.5% and 3.5% of every single credit card transaction.
Which, on the surface, 3%, it might not sound like a huge number. You think, okay, cost of doing business.
Sure.
But the mission for this deep dive, and we're calling this one the zero-fee future, stop giving away 3% of your sales, is to really unpack what happens when you do the math on that 3%. We're going to look at the solution BPS proposes, this zero-fee payment processing, and the whole idea of revenue leaks.
Because that's the real insight here. It's not just about credit cards. It's about how businesses lose money in ways they don't even see. BPS claims they can save a business anywhere from $500 to, $3,000 a month.
That's a mortgage payment. That's a huge amount of money. So let's start there. Let's quantify this silent leak.
Right. BPS uses this term eroding margins. And I think that's a perfect way to picture it. It's like, coastal erosion. You don't see the cliff disappearing day by day, but after a year, a chunk of your property is just gone.
And the source material has these industry data tables that make it terrifyingly clear. They break it down by business type. And I want to start with the full-service restaurant example, because restaurants, they're famous for having paper-thin margins.
Oh, absolutely. So in this scenario, we have a pretty successful local restaurant doing about $85,000 a month in transactions.
Okay, 85 grand a month, busy place. That's a lot of burger flipping.
It is. Now, their average processing rate is listed at 2.9%. So if you just do the raw math on that, $85,000 times 2.9%, that's about $2,465 a month.
$2,400 a month, okay. It hurts, but if you're bringing in 85K, maybe you just shrug and say, well, I got to take cards.
And that's the trap. You have to zoom out.
Right.
Because over a year, that restaurant is losing $29,580.
Almost $30,000. See, when you annualize it, it just hits different. That's a salary. That's a full-time entry-level employee.
Or a kitchen renovation. Or a marketing budget that could totally change your business.
Yeah.
And here's the key insight, the thing you have to grasp. That $29,000 comes off the top, not the bottom.
Okay, break that down. Why is that distinction so important?
So let's just say this restaurant has a 10% net profit margin, which is pretty good for food service. If their annual revenue is roughly $1 million, their actual take-home profit is only $100,000.
Right, the money the owner actually gets to spend.
But they just paid almost $30,000 in fees. That means those processing fees are eating up nearly 30% of their actual profit.
Wow. Okay, that completely reframes it. You're not losing 3% of your business. You're losing 30% of your paycheck.
Precisely. And the source highlights that this money is gone no matter what. If the restaurant has a bad year and just breaks even, zero profit. The processors still took their 30 grand.
They list other examples here, too. A medical practice doing $120,000 a month.
Yep. And at a 2.5% rate, that practice is losing $3,000 every single month. That's $36,000 a year, gone.
And even a smaller retail store doing 60 grand a month, they're still out nearly $20,000 a year.
And this is where BPS comes in. They basically say, we've all been conditioned to see this as a tax, something unavoidable. But they frame it as a problem with a very clear solution. They claim this cost can be reduced to literally zero.
Zero. That's a bold claim. I have to be the skeptic here. Visa and MasterCard are not just going to stop charging fees because a company in Idaho asks nicely.
No, they certainly won't. They like their revenue.
So how does the math work? Someone has to be paying that 2.5%. It can't just vanish.
You're right. The fee doesn't disappear. The mechanism is something BPS calls zero-fee processing, but you'll also hear it called dual pricing or cash discounting.
So walk me through it. I'm a customer at that restaurant. What do I see differently?
It's essentially a two-price system. There's a cash price and a card price.
And the price on the menu is the cash price.
Usually, yes, that's the standard price. But if you choose to pay with a credit card, the system automatically adds a small service fee to cover the processing cost. It effectively shifts the cost.
So instead of the business owner absorbing that 3%, the customer who chooses the convenience of using a card pays for it.
Exactly. It passes the fee to the end user of that service.
Now, I can hear people asking, because I'm wondering this too, is that legal? I feel like I remember seeing signs years ago saying, no surcharges on credit cards.
That's the #1 question they get, and BPS addresses it directly. The legal landscape has changed a lot. They see very clearly that this is compliant and legal in all 50 states.
So the laws have evolved.
They have, but you have to do it right.
Yeah.
That's the key. You can't just surprise people at the register.
Yeah.
The source makes it clear that their programs meet all the disclosure rules from Visa, MasterCard, and state laws. There has to be signs. The receipt has to show the fee clearly.
It's funny because when you think about it, we already see this everywhere. Gas stations do this every day.
Every single day.
You pull up and the sign says cash price, credit price, and nobody bats an eye. It seems like BPS is just taking that model and applying it to Main Street.
That is the perfect analogy. And the argument they make is, why should a small business owner have to subsidize the rewards points and airline miles for their customers?
That's a spicy take.
But it's true, isn't it? The highest fees are often on those premium rewards cards. So the merchant is literally paying for their customer's vacation to Hawaii. With this model, the business owner stops funding those perks.
And keeps that $30,000 a year.
Correct.
But there has to be a catch. I mean, if this is so great, why isn't everyone's local bank offering it? What makes BPS different?
Well, the traditional processors, they love the current model. The source has this great comparison chart, traditional versus BPS, and it's not just the rate. It's all the hidden fees.
Ugh, I hate hidden fees. What are we talking about here?
Okay, so according to the chart, traditional processors often have monthly statement fees, $10 to $25 just to send you a bill.
That's ridiculous.
Then there are batch fees. Every time you close out the register for the night, they charge you 10 to 30 cents.
Feels like a fee from 1995.
It is. And then the big one, PCI compliance fees.
Right, define that. PCI sounds important.
It is. Payment card industry compliance.
Yeah.
It's about making sure your system is secure. But traditional processors often charge you like $99 to $250 a year just for the privilege of being compliant.
And BPS.
Zeros. All the way down the chart.
Yeah.
0% rate, 0 monthly fees, PCI compliance is included, no batch fees.
That's really compelling. What about the hardware, the actual machine? I know a lot of businesses get stuck leasing those things forever.
That's another huge point they make. Traditional processors love to lock you into 3 to 5 year contracts, and then they charge you $50 to $150 a month to lease the equipment.
So you're renting the machine that takes your money?
For 5 years.
Yeah.
You end up paying for it 10 times over. BPS, on the other hand, is month to month, no lock-in, and the equipment is a one-time purchase. You buy it, you own it.
That month-to-month part seems huge. It suggests they're confident in their service. Like, we don't need to trap you because you'll want to stay.
It does, and they have this zero-fee guarantee. The source says if they can't save you money, they just don't proceed.
I also noticed the source really leans into the company's history. This isn't some tech startup from Silicon Valley.
No, and that seems to be a big part of their identity. The founder, Robert Scharnhorst, got into this industry in 1974.
1974, that's almost 50 years of experience. That's before chips and cards. That's before the internet.
And that local longevity factor is a clear selling point. They're based in Twin Falls. They talk about serving their local community. They're not some faceless 1-800 number. They're the people who actually come to your shop and set things up.
Okay, so the fees are a huge drain, and BPS has a legal, tested way to stop it. But this is where the source material got really interesting for me. I realized this isn't just about credit cards. That's almost like the gateway drug.
It really is. That's the hook. But they position themselves as profit consultants.
Right. They talk about profit consulting and wealth strategy. It completely changes the conversation from how do I save 3% to how do I actually build long-term wealth?
And this goes back to those revenue leaks we mentioned. The source claims that beyond the processing fees, they often find another 3% to 8% of lost revenue in a business.
3 to 8% on top of the card fees. Where's all that money going?
It's disappearing through things like vendor overcharges, operational inefficiencies, just missed opportunities.
Give me an example of a vendor overcharge. Is that like my linen service is charging me too much?
Exactly that. Or software you're paying for but not using. Or you're on a contract with a food supplier that's been creeping up 2% a year for a decade and you've just never rebid it. They offer to come in and audit those contracts.
So they come in and basically tighten all the bolts on the ship.
That's a perfect metaphor. And when you combine the 3% you save on card fees with, say, another 4 or 5% from these operational fixes, you're looking at a massive swing in profitability.
And again, on thin margins, an 8% swing isn't just nice to have. That is the difference between surviving and thriving. That's opening a second location versus closing your doors.
And that leads into the third pillar they talk about, wealth strategy.
The long game.
It is. It's about converting those business profits into real personal financial security.
Which is the whole point, right? You don't start a business just to pay Visa's bills. You do it so you can retire one day.
But so many owners get stuck on the hamster wheel. BPS offers services around exit planning, succession planning, asset protection.
Things people put off until it's way too late.
And this is where that 50 years of experience probably comes in. They're talking about financial freedom roadmaps. It's about taking that new cash flow you just created, that $29,000, and putting it to work for your future.
It totally reframes the relationship. Your payment processor is usually just a utility you hate paying for. They're trying to be a strategic partner.
It's holistic. They don't just stop the bleeding, they help you build muscle.
Okay, let's get practical. If I'm a listener running a business and I'm thinking, okay, this sounds great, but I don't have time for a major headache, what does implementation actually look like?
The source lays out a 4-step process, and it's really built for speed. Step 1 is a free consultation.
It's a 60-minute analysis.
Right. You show them your current statements. They want to crunch the real numbers and show you exactly what you could save.
So no hypotheticals. It's, here is what you paid Visa last month, and here's what you'll pay with us.
Exactly. Step 2 is the custom proposal. Step 3 is implementation. And this is where that hands-on approach comes in. They handle the setup, the staff training, all of it. They claim most businesses are live in 7 to 14 days.
2 weeks. That's really fast.
And the source mentions the actual setup only takes about 48 hours, so you're not going to be shut down for a week or anything.
I want to focus on staff training for a second. That feels critical. Your staff are on the front lines. They have to explain this to customers.
Absolutely. If a customer asks, hey, what's this fee? The staff needs a confident, simple answer. Oh, that's for using a card. We also have a cash price if you prefer. BPS handles that training so it's not awkward.
That makes a huge difference. If the staff is confident, the customer is fine. If the staff is fumbling, the customer gets annoyed.
For sure. And then the last step, step 4, is ongoing support.
Monthly reviews.
Yeah, they don't just set it and forget it. They monitor your account to make sure the savings are there and, crucially, that you stay compliant as rules change.
Because Visa and MasterCard are always changing the rules.
Always. And the source makes a pretty bold claim about the results. They say 95% to 100% of revenue is recovered.
And that most businesses save between $500 and $3,000 a month immediately.
Immediately. That's day one cash flow.
It really raises this fundamental question for business owners. We spend so much time focused on top-line growth. How do I get more customers? How do I sell more stuff?
Because growth is sexy. Efficiency is, well, it's boring.
But growth is expensive. Marketing costs money. New inventory costs money. The money you save from eliminating these fees, that's pure profit. It costs you nothing to keep the money you already earned.
That is such a powerful mindset shift. If you're that restaurant owner losing 30 grand a year, think about how much more food you have to sell just to make $30,000 in profit.
Well, if your margin is 10%, you'd have to sell $300,000 worth of food.
Just to get back to even.
That is insane. You have to do over $250,000 in new sales just to pay your credit card processor.
Or you just switch your processing model. It is so much easier to save $30,000 than it is to earn an additional $300,000 in revenue.
That's the aha moment. The easiest money you will ever make is the money you stop losing.
And that is the core argument from business profit strategies. That 3% fee is not a mandatory tax. It's an optional loss.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge. If you run a business, do the math. Take your monthly credit card volume, whether it's 10 grand or 100 grand, and multiply it by 0.03.
See what that number is. If you're doing $50,000 a month, you are probably burning through more than $18,000 a year.
$18,000. That's a family vacation. That's a major equipment upgrade. That's a safety net.
And BPS is saying, we can put that back in your bank account in 2 weeks.
It's definitely something to think about. We think of innovation as this complex, futuristic thing, but sometimes the biggest innovation is just looking at a line item on your bank statement and saying, nope, not paying that anymore.
Efficiency versus growth.
Yeah.
Efficiency almost always wins on speed.
I love that. Efficiency wins on speed. A huge thank you to Business Profit Strategies for the source material. It's been a real eye-opener.
It certainly has.
We'll leave you with that thought. Are you focused on filling the bucket, or are you focused on plugging the holes? Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.
Take care.